The following presentation is for mature audiences only.
Who are you?
He's a fine man.
All hell is broken loose.
He's a great broadcaster.
He's a very powerful guy.
Absolutely brilliant.
Feared by men, adored by women.
He's a smart boy.
It's patriotic.
It's no big deal.
It's the end of the world.
I might as well tell you now. He's a monkey.
And how you doing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? Welcome into another edition of The Wild Side with Eric Clark. I am your host, Eric Clark, coming to you from the east side of Nashville, saying thank you for taking time out of your busy day to give this a watch and a listen. If you like it, like it. If you think other people are going to like it, give it a share. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're following me on all of my social media. That way, if you have a suggestion for a track or a video, leave it in the comment section below or hit me up with a DM. If you are going to suggest something in the comment section below, I just recommend you go through, read the comments. If your song has already been suggested, just leave an I concur. Everybody has been helping me by following that, so I can't say thank you enough. It helps my DJ brain kind of organize most requested song. So thank you to everybody for, I don't want to say following directions. That sounds very authoritative. I don't mean that. But just thank you for helping me out. It does help me organize. Today's a little different. Today I'm going to introduce you to a song. I'm going to introduce you to the source of a sound. Mankind has a very curious nature, don't we? We want to know the sources for everything. Why is something the way it is? Where did it come from? Who started it? Who's on first? I don't know who's on second. Whether we're looking for the source of the Nile or the fountain of youth or the spice melange, human beings just love enjoying a nice little adventure. Well, today, we're going to take an adventure a little down south. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer out loud. Don't answer in your head. Answer out loud. Name 3 Southern rock bands. Okay, so you've named your 3 Southern rock bands. Something about that is very familiar. They have a specific tone, don't they? They have a specific sound. Southern rock has a tone. Now, one could be obtuse and argue that all rock and roll is Southern considering its source, but it's not. I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sound that is the 70s. That peak sound of Southern rock. Where did it come from? Did it come from that early 1950s sound? Did it come from Lonnie Mack in the early 60s? Did it come from a Canned Heat or a CCR coming out of the West Coast? No. Southern American rock came from one song and one sound. Now I'm going to tell you where that came from. It came from Muscle Shoals, and it was recorded in November of 1968, and it was released in January of 1969. And the song was so powerful that its effect is still being heard today. The song was so powerful that it started a record label. The song was so powerful, it made God hire a redneck to steal the wife of a Beatle. Bear with me, I'll practice brevity. So Duane Allman moved his band, the Allman Joys, to Nashville to work as a sessions musician at RCA. While he was here, he did something that, in and of itself, is an accomplishment. He became a house band here in Nashville. Nashville had a sound at the time, the Nashville Sound. It was very conservative. Duane really wasn't getting the work he wanted, the sound he wanted. So he would record down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. If you don't know anything about Muscle Shoals, do some research. It's a great, great story. Fantastic story and a ton of history. At the time in Muscle Shoals, Rick Hall was dealing with turnover with his first batch of sessions musicians, and he was looking for a second batch of the Muscle Shoals rhythm section. This second iteration, this second generation of sessions musicians at Muscle Shoals famed studios became what are known as the Swampers. So Duane Allman is down there with his band, the Allman Joys, and they're recording some stuff. And Rick Hall hears it and says, I want that guy playing in my rhythm section. So he gets a hold of who he needs to get a hold of, buys out Duane Allman's contract, and brings Duane Allman down to Muscle Shoals to record. Now, at the time, Muscle Shoals was kind of a conduit for Jerry Wexler out of New York and the Walden Brothers. And the Walden Brothers were managing a lot of R&B artists at the time, like Percy Sledge, Aretha Franklin, and they would bring them down to Muscle Shoals to kind of help them out a little bit, because the rhythm sections at Muscle Shoals, again, do a little research. They made people, is what they did. Anyway, so Duane's down there doing some sessions work, And one of the first sessions he does is with a soul singer named Wilson Pickett. Wilson Pickett, you know, Land of a Thousand Dances, Midnight Hour. I had a chance to talk to Steve Cropper, who wrote Midnight Hour and played on it with Wilson Pickett. And I asked him about Wilson's ability and how it would translate to today's modern technology, just joking about what kind of filters we would need or anything like that. And he said, no, you would just need a microphone and a preamp. He's that good. He's right up there with Otis Redding when it comes to soul singers. The problem with Wilson Pickett is that he was a little bit of a handful. He had some personal demons that didn't make him the most desirable of signings. So Jerry Wexler sent him down to Muscle Shoals to not clean up, but just to make something that's going to make money. Make a hit. That's what we want you to do. So Wilson Pickett goes down to Muscle Shoals and decides to do an album of cover songs. Tributes, if you will. And he sat down with Duane Allman, and they got to writing and they got to playing. And what came from this session is the source of Southern rock. So when you think of those bands I asked you to mention, when you think of Marshall Tucker, where did that come from? Where did it all begin? The sound you're thinking about, the tone of Southern rock, is what I call a hopeful melancholy. And I'll get to the effects of this song, but first, this is Hey Jude, Wilson Pickett, Duane Allman on guitars. Check it out.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her in your heart, then you can start to make it better. Hey Jude, don't be afraid. You were made to go out and get her. The minute you let her under your skin, then you'll begin to make it better. Anytime you feel the pain, hey Jude, refrain. Don't carry the world upon your shoulder. For you know that it's a fool who plays it cool by making the world a little bit colder. Hey Jude, don't let me down. You found her, now go on out and get her. But remember to let her in your heart, then you can start to make it better. So let it out and let it in. Hey Jude, begin. You waited for someone to perform with. And don't you know that it's just you? Hey Jude, you do the movements you need is on your shoulder. Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song, make it better. Just remember to let her under your skin, then you begin to make it better. Ow! Ah, Judy.
There it is.
It's gonna be alright. Judy, gonna be alright.
Down there in Macon. Coming out of Muscle Shoals, Dwayne Allman, Wilson Pickett with Hey Jude. I'm not saying that is how that song is supposed to sound, but it carries a different weight, doesn't it? Wilson Pickett never got stank face when hitting notes. That's how you know that the guy was one of the greatest. It's sad that his demons took over. It really is. But his voice carries a different weight. This may be one of the first soul songs with a guitar solo. So the song itself was so good that I think it reached number 13 on the chart. And when Rick Hall played this song over the phone for Jerry Wexler, it was such a good song that Jerry Wexler signed the Allman Brothers. Not only did he sign the Allman Brothers, but he and Phil Walden started a record label. That was the sound they were looking for. That was that sound that they had been craving. Where can we tap into the rock scene? Right here, that sound. So they took that sound and germinated an entire subgenre from it. So Phil Walden goes to Macon and starts Capricorn label with the Allman Brothers as their bell cow, if you will. Start bringing in Wet Willie, start bringing in Marshall Tucker. They're bringing in Molly Hatchet, Atlanta Rhythm Section, Dixie Dregs. And later in life, throughout, this is why this song is so important, because that tone that you're hearing in all of those artists, whether it's Marshall Tucker, Can't You See, which is one of the most beautiful songs ever written, or Molly Hatchet's version of the Allman Brothers' Dreams, this tone is running through the entire 1970s. That sound is Southern rock, so much so that you can still hear it. You can still hear this tone, that hopeful melancholy, that bright sadness. You can still hear it in the Black Crowes. You can hear it in Kings of Leon, Government Mule. You can hear Dwayne Allman's Coricidin glass bottle on a fret to this day. So the song itself, number 13 on the chart, got the Allman Brothers signed so they could release the Allman Brothers with their classic Statesboro Blues, which is a cover of a cover. So in a way, you can kind of thank Taj Mahal and Ry Cooder and John Lee Smith, I want to say, is a guitar player from that album, the Taj Mahal album from 1967. But the tone that you hear throughout the entire 1970s in Southern rock from the Capricorn label, even bands that aren't on that label, Leonard Skinner, you hear Tuesday's Gone in that song. You hear it. It's that tone. It's Dwayne Allman playing a guitar with a glass bottle on his finger. That is the tone that is Southern rock. Also, such a good song that Eric Clapton rented him so that he could finish the Layla sessions. So when they're on tour, the Allman Brothers are playing in Miami, Clapton's in Miami. He had been loving this song for 2 years. When the song came out, Eric Clapton said, "Who is that? I want that. I want that sound." When he was sitting there writing a song to pour his heart out to the woman he loves, the missing piece was that tone. So when you listen to Layla and Bell Bottom Blues, that tone. So in a sense, Layla and Bell Bottom Blues is Southern rock, because the real guitar work in those pieces are Dwayne Allman, and he's bringing that tone with him. Great sessions tone, because he knows when to keep it menthol. So in the first part of Hey Jude, you're hearing that. You're hearing just the light touches, that very Steve Cropper-esque sound that soul music looks for. Soul music isn't about the guitar work. That's blues. Soul music is about the singer, maybe the horn section. But soul music is mostly about the singer and what they're making you think and feel through their singing. So he's perfect in his role as the soul guitar player. He's playing rhythm. And then when Percy goes into his runs, Dwayne goes into his. And he creates the lead part. So within the same song, you have a soul song, perfect soul music, going into perfect Southern rock. That big, grand Southern rock vibe of festival stage, swimming hole kind of vibe. That's that tone, that hopeful melancholy. If you ever get a chance and you're driving down I-75 through Macon, Georgia, I highly recommend you get off the exit. Go right, take a left at, I think, the first light. You go up top of the hill, and there's Rose Hill Cemetery. Pay respects to Barry and Dwayne. Very sad story. Dwayne's killed at one intersection. Then a year later, his bandmate, Barry, is killed at an intersection a block away. And while you're there, pay tribute to the brothers. Say hi to Elizabeth Reed. And then go across the interstate and visit the museum. You learn a lot about Southern rock and the culture that went along with it. It was very barefoot and front porch. The whole concept of it, the whole buildup of it, the way they built the studio, the environment that they created for their artists to record in. When you talk to people like Elvin Bishop, when you talk to people like the guys from Molly Hatchet, and they talk about the days of Capricorn and the freedom that they had and the openness of the entire environment to create that tone. What is that tone? Duane Allman and Wilson Pickett. So when someone talks to me about Southern rock, the source of Southern rock is Hey Jude by Wilson Pickett and Duane Allman. And it's a great story, his role in Nashville as when one door closes, another door opens. So Duane's story, it's as tragic as it is inspiring. So if you don't know anything about the Allman Brothers, if you're not familiar with Southern rock, I highly recommend looking into the Allman Brothers, Brothers and Sisters, Eat a Peach, and save Live at the Fillmore for when you're kind of into them, because Live at the Fillmore is one of the greatest albums ever recorded. It really is. And the funny story is, prior to that concert that was recorded at the Fillmore, I think 73, prior to that show, 72 or 73, prior to that show, Duane Allman was in New York supporting Aretha Franklin and was at the venue, Fillmore, watching a Johnny Winter show, and made a comment to a bandmate that I'll be on that stage. I think it was Jimmy Johnson from Muscle Shoals, said, I'll be on that stage within a year. And then a year later, he's on that stage as the Allman Brothers, recording Live at the Fillmore. Just a fantastic story that is the Allman Brothers. Again, it's as wonderful as it is tragic, so be ready for that. But dive a little bit deeper into the Allman Brothers, get into the Capricorn label. You're going to find a lot of great bands and a lot of great songs, but mainly you're going to hear that tone, that hopeful, melancholy tone that all comes from a kid that didn't make it in Nashville, but luckily he made it in Muscle Shoals. So thank you, everybody, for your patience. Thank you very much for sticking with me. I hope you got to learn something. I hope I exposed you to something that won't get me arrested. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your patience. I did try to practice brevity. I'm sure I missed a couple of things, but that's why we have the comment section below, so that everybody can correct me and feel superior. Thank you very much. Make sure you're following me on all of my social media accounts. Make sure you're following and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I want to thank Aspen Dental and Connect 200. They are what make the wild side possible. Make sure you're looking out for each other. Make sure you're looking out for your neighbor. Try to do at least one good thing a day. I'm Eric Clark, and this has been The Wild Side.